Hey everyone, just going to make this last video of the semester here um, about the final exam. I wanted to give you a little bit of a study material before I actually post the exam. I'm making this a couple days before I'm going to post it just to give you a heads up. And then of course you have till the Friday of finals week to get this completed. I think that's December 9th. So that will be the completion date instead of the typical Sunday that we usually have. Remember, that's going to be on a Friday. So the final exam, I went through and started creating it, and I had mentioned to you already in a previous video that I was leaning toward making it a little bit longer, which I did, but not by a whole lot as far as the questions. I think I have 36 or 35 questions on there, but no multiple choice or true and false. The majority of the questions are going to be from the McGraw-Hill materials, the labeling, the diagrams, the fill in the paragraphs from the diagrams. I really like those type of questions because they do make you think a little bit more, even though you can find those in your textbook and just copy them down, what it says in there. But at least you have to think about what you're putting on these diagrams. So that's going to be the majority of these. Most of them you've seen before on a previous assignment. So if you study it all, that should make it easier, and I hope that you all do. I hope you just don't plan on going in there and trying to run through your textbook and find these things and hope you can finish in time. There are 2 essay questions on there. I mentioned I might put a couple more. I decided to stick with the 2 just because I think these diagram questions should take a little bit longer to do than us having a lot of multiple choice. So, I'm going to also give you all a little bit more time to do this test, probably an extra 30 minutes or so to complete it over the 2 hours, just to make sure you have enough time to do it. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the topics of the essay questions like I typically do. And they're going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say abstract, but it's going to pull from a couple of sources. You're going to have to think about more than just like one specific thing with these. As you know, I'll go ahead and the first one is on karst agriculture. It's about karst in our local area. As you all know, we've talked about this the entire semester. That here in South Central Kentucky, at Sky, where this course is taught from, I live near Bowling Green. That we have a heavily karsted area that's very famous throughout the world for Mammoth Cave. So I want to make sure that we have questions that are going to relate to our local area, at least Kentucky. And we've had several of those like mountaintop removal and previous tests. So for this one, I chose agricultural practices in karst terrain. And I've spoken about this to some degree. Some of the information is in your textbook with relationships to some of the agricultural practices. In chapter, I think it's 10 on soils, it discusses several agricultural practices toward the end of the chapter and what they're useful for. And I didn't specifically, most of what I talked about with regards to karst was with the livestock operations in my lectures. Those are a little bit more geared toward cropland, row crop applications. But I want you to put those 2 things together. You can also discuss the livestock in the question, but basically what I'm asking you to do is list 5 different agricultural practices that could be applied to farms and karst areas that could help the environment, the groundwater, the general environment, to reduce pollution from farming and erosion and everything that comes along with that. So I want you, when you answer that, to relate it to karst. In other words, and I put an example in the question, don't just look in your textbook and you see like filter strips and you just go to the test and say, okay, filter strips. Well, anybody can do that. How does a filter strip help in karst? Tell me what a filter strip does. Give me a brief example or definition of what it is and an example of where it would be used. And then how would that help in a karst terrain? For instance, are you reducing erosion into a sinkhole, or water quality coming out of a spring, whatever that might be? I want you to put some of the stuff together that you've learned and incorporate that into a cohesive answer on the exam. So that shouldn't be too hard especially if you've watched the lectures. I've talked about cars several times in the lectures, so hopefully that won't be too difficult of a question for you. The other one, again, is sort of asking you to bring a few things together that we discussed through the semester. And what it is, and I want to explain this a little bit more because it might not be as clear as written. It should be, but I just want to make sure you're all clear on it. So I ask you to list 3 different processes that happen in nature that have been happening since time began. I mean, we're talked about examples like mass wasting, the erosion, flooding, all that stuff. That's all natural. That all happens whether humans are here or not. That was happening way before we were here. But the question is, I want you to list 3 of those types of events, natural events. I'll leave it open. I want you to use your knowledge of what we've studied this semester, and it can be from a variety of topics, anywhere from mass wasting to flooding to even climate change on a much larger macro scale type example. But I want you to tell me what 3 of those are, list those, define those, and then tell me how humans have made it worse. How have we contributed to the worsening of these environmental processes that makes the environment worse than it was if we were not here? So that's what I want from that. I'll just give you a quick example, something like flooding. I'm not going to give you the answer, but it's something that we have a heavy role in a lot of our activities, and you can go ahead and use flooding. I don't care. That's perfectly fine with me because I'm not giving you the entire answer. But there are other events too that happen in nature that would happen without us here, but we make them worse sometimes by some of our activities. So I want you to write a paragraph or 2 on each of those, just again defining what that is. List it, define it, and then explain why we have made it worse, or what activities that we do that make it worse. And you can even mention in there some things that we could do to remedy these things. How can we make it better? How can we be more careful? How can we plan better? Whatever that might be. So, just wanted to let you know those things in advance so you'll have some heads up. Again, it's a time test. I don't want anybody running out of time on this. Everybody, y'all have done really good so far this semester. I'm really happy with your grades so far and how everybody's gotten their assignments in and on time and completed everything. I hope this semester has worked out well for you all as well. Again, this is my first bi-term, so that was a whole lot of information in a very short period of time. I would have liked to have been a little bit more creative with some of my assignments, but given the short amount of time, and it was my first experience with McGraw-Hill Connect, so it was kind of a trial by fire this semester, but I think it worked out all right. So I hope you feel the same way, and good luck on your final exam. And if I don't talk to you directly, thanks for your work, and I hope you have a good holiday season. Thank you.